We are on a quest to follow the money in the Democratic primary, breaking down the donors and financing of all of the Democratic primary contenders. We've done a number, check the archives. Today, Marianne Williamson, and joining us to do that, Dave Leventhal, federal politics reporter for the Center for Public Integrity. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Hey, good to be with you, John.
Good to have you here. So let's talk about Marianne. We actually had her on the show a week or two ago, but we didn't get into her financing. So there's quite a bit that you can teach her. I do know, though, based on her career, she has generated her wealth in a different way than a lot of the other candidates. Can you break that down?
That's for sure. She's not somebody who has been working in government for many, many years, as you have some of the candidates, or in business, of course, too, in a traditional sense of being in corporate business. Marianne Williamson has written 12 books, 4 of which have been New York Times #1 bestsellers, and she also has quite an impressive business when it comes to doing self-help lectures and talking about spirituality and inspiration. She's made quite a significant living off of doing all of these different things, and you can buy all sorts of material on her website and whatnot. It really adds up to a pretty significant amount of money for her, and we got to look at that when she ran for Congress back in California during 2013 and 2014. And when you run for Congress or for federal public office, you have to disclose certain amounts of personal financial information. She did, and at the time, back a few years ago, she was worth up to just a little bit short of $5 million on the highest end. Mind you, she reports these types of assets in ranges, as all candidates do, but even on the low end, it's around $1 million. So she's done pretty well for herself, and that leads up to, of course, her presidential campaign right now, which is going to be a very expensive affair by any measure.
That is true, and they're all fighting with each other to raise money. But as you point out, she does have, she has her own, personal stake. Has she shown, like in her past candidacy, is she willing to spend her own money in support of her race?
So she did in 2014 when she ran for Congress. She placed 4th in an 18-way race for Congress in a congressional seat in California. Representative Ted Lieu ultimately won that seat. But she put in more than $500,000 in terms of loans and personal contributions into her campaign. Of course, didn't get her where she wanted to go, which was winning her Democratic nomination. She's running as a Democrat now. She ran as an independent then. But we talked to her spokespeople, and they basically said this time around, it's going to be a different story. At least initially, she is not going to put in her own money into her presidential campaign. She's going to be relying on contributions from supporters, from people who believe that she, out of the many, many Democratic candidates who are running for the presidential nomination, is the best one to go forward. And she's been making some significant waves, Marianne Williamson, in states like New Hampshire, where she's drawing fairly big crowds, and retail politicking is really the name of the game in a place like New Hampshire, the first primary state in the nation. And hey, she's doing about as well as anyone would expect her to be doing, given at least the numbers that are coming out in terms of people to her event, if not the dollar figures that we haven't gotten a full look at yet.
Well, let's turn now to small donors, because that is going to be one of the qualifying criteria for ending up on the debate stage. So everybody is trying to hit that something like 65,000 individual contributions. Do we have any idea how she is doing in that so far?
So we know, at least based on what she says, that she is on her way to that mark. Hasn't made it yet. It's still fairly far away, but that is one of the 2 criteria that the Democrats now have in place for presidential candidates to make it onto the debate stage when debates begin in earnest this summer. And there will be a series of them month by month going forward all the way to caucus and primary season. So if Marianne Williamson is able to attract, thousands more donors to come and support her campaign, all they have to do is make a $1 donation, and it still counts as much as a $100 donation or a $1,000 donation. It's really about the volume of people that you can get across 20 or more states to go and contribute to your campaign. That's going to ultimately lead to the decision of whether you're in or whether you're out.
And in terms of being able to generate those contributions, it certainly doesn't hurt that she has a bigger social media following than the vast majority of the other candidates running. I am curious. I know that she has this history with Oprah as her sort of spiritual advisor. Has Oprah done any promotional stuff for her in this candidacy so far?
Not yet, and there have been some people who've come out and been supportive of her. Deepak Chopra, for example, is somebody who is you could put in that pot. But if you go back to her congressional campaign, she did have a number of kind of Hollywood A or B listers who did either make contributions to her campaign financially or supported her campaign. On the latter point, Alanis Morissette created a video and wrote a song that was sort of the unofficial campaign song of Marianne Williamson's campaign. You can watch it on YouTube right now, after your show, of course. And there were other people like actress Marcia Cross and Eva Longoria and others who did make financial contributions. Ben Cohen of Ben & Jerry's also made a contribution, although it should be noted that Ben Cohen is also a big Bernie Sanders supporter and has been fundraising during this presidential go-around for Bernie Sanders, so maybe she won't be able to count on him as much anymore. But the point is that she definitely does have some friends in relatively high places, definitely well-known places, who can be surrogates for her potentially, who can campaign for her potentially and cover more ground than she alone can. But she's somebody who does definitely have a great force of presence and is very inspiring to a lot of people. And whether that translates from the world of professional inspiration to the political trail remains to be fully seen. But a lot of people are seeing her outperforming expectations already when she just announced just about 2 months ago that she was jumping into the presidential race.
So one final question, because I think that we can learn a lot by what the philosophy of a person is in terms of how they go about raising money. So we know that many candidates are not going to be taking money from corporate PACs. Some are swearing off particular industries like the fossil fuel industries and things like that. Do we know anything about her overall philosophy and where she's going to be getting her money from and where she chooses not to get her money from?
In fact, yeah, she released a video not long ago that talked about this very issue, about where she's getting her money. And she's kind of taken the standard line that many of the Democrats have taken, saying, hey, not going to take corporate PAC money. And it's almost as if the Democrats are trying to outdo one another as to the way that they restrict money coming into their campaign. Elizabeth Warren may be most out front in that regard. But Marianne Williamson has said, yeah, I'm not expecting to take any corporate PAC money. It's all going to be very people-based, that I want you, average American, to make a donation to my campaign to both support it in terms of money, but also to support it in terms of getting me on the debate stage. So that seems to be the tack that she's taken. There's been no super PAC or any type of outside organization that's come in any major or even minor way to go and support her candidacy, but that is possible. People need to remember that super PACs are legally independent entities from a presidential campaign. So sometimes candidates like when super PACs come and support them. Sometimes they don't, but the bottom line is that a super PAC, if it wants to set itself up and support a candidate, it can. For Marianne Williamson, Bernie Sanders, or any of the other candidates who are running, they do have that right under the Citizens United decision to do that. And Jay Inslee, the governor of Washington, is one candidate who does have a very, very active super PAC right now. Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, is somebody who had his own super PAC going as a precursor to his campaign. So definitely different candidates have different relationships with political money in a pretty major way.
And because of that, we very much appreciate you coming on the show and breaking down these candidates one by one. You've mentioned a few that perhaps we can circle back to in future weeks. But Dave Leventhal, thank you as always.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.